2021 was just an alright year for games. While plenty of really good games came out, I don't feel like there were many really standout games this year for me. I mean, just look at the Game of the Year nominations for the Steam Awards. New World and Cyberpunk are both nominated. Yeah, that's how you know there really wasn't a lot this year that was really good. But even though there was stuff that wasn't really outstanding to me, there were still a lot of really solid games that came out this year. And there were also some games that I played this year for the first time that were really cool too. So just like any other gaming YouTuber, I'm going to share with you my top 10 games of the year. Oh, and quick disclaimer, I don't have the time nor the money to play every single new release that comes out, so this list is mostly games that came out this year, but there's some games that I played for the first time this year on this list too. So if you're wondering why some games didn't make the list, this is just based off of games that I played rather than games that came out. So yeah, here we go.
I'm ready.
No, you ain't.
Smash Bros has always been one of my favorite games to play, and Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl captures a lot of the same feelings of playing Smash while bringing a lot of new and interesting ideas to the table. I grew up watching most of the shows that are featured in this game, so it was also really cool getting to see all the different references put into the game. There have been a lot of complaints about things like the lack of voice acting in the game, but to be honest, when I'm playing the game, I really don't even notice the fact that there's no voice acting at all, and it really doesn't bother me that much. It's still a lot of fun to play despite that. I also really appreciate the developers of this game. They're constantly communicating with their community on Discord and talking about different issues or addressing feedback, talking about future updates. It's really nice to see developers that are so open and honest with their communication when interacting with their player base. And I really wish a lot of other games would take a similar approach in this sort of communication. Oh, and I mean, they just added Garfield to the game, so I mean, what else am I supposed to say?
I'm trying to sneak around, but I'm dummy thick.
Back in 2018, when the Everyone Is Here trailer dropped for Smash Ultimate, I was stoked since Snake was my favorite character to play as in Brawl, and I was really glad he was coming back after not being in Smash 4. But then it dawned on me, I haven't actually played any Metal Gear games before. So then I started playing through every single game in this series, and I gotta say, Metal Gear Solid is probably one of my favorite franchises of all time. Every single game in this series is so good, it's just unbelievable how quality every single game is. And this year, I finally got around to playing Metal Gear Solid 5. What sets MGS5 apart from all the other Metal Gear Solid games is that it really focuses more on gameplay than on story. That might sound weird, but every other Metal Gear Solid game I felt like had a pretty good balance between story and then gameplay. I never really felt like there was more gameplay than story or more story than gameplay. They were usually really intertwined and complemented each other while you played them. But MGS5, on the other hand, is basically all gameplay and really not much story. And when you do get some story, it makes no fucking sense. So this was good and bad for me. On one hand, this is probably the best stealth game I have ever played. It is just so quality the whole time and so much fun. I really just love playing this game. But the story, I wish it had the same kind of story of some of the other games. But despite all this, it's still really good. It is still a really good game and worth playing. And honestly, even if you haven't played a Metal Gear Solid game before, you could probably play MGS5 and still enjoy it because, like I said, there's not a lot of story anyway, so you don't really need to care about that. So yeah, check it out. Halo Infinite, the multiplayer. I haven't played the campaign for Halo Infinite yet, but I was mostly planning on just playing the multiplayer anyways. And then they announced that the multiplayer would be free, so I was like, yoink? But I gotta say, the multiplayer, it's pretty good. Shooting just feels satisfying, there's a wide variety of guns to use and master, most of the maps are really engaging and just fun to play on, and overall, the game is just really well made and also a lot of fun to play. This has probably been the most fun I've had with an FPS game since Overwatch came out in 2016, and I'm definitely looking forward to future updates for this game.
Yeah! I have the power of God!
Doom Eternal. Yeah, I mean, what am I supposed to say? I feel like everything there is to say about Doom has already been said before. It's fun, you shoot, stuff dies, the soundtrack's good. Yeah, I don't really have anything to add that hasn't been said a million times before. Just go play Doom. What are you doing? Huh? Playing fucking Candy Crush?
S to the I to the M to the P, then maybe you can be moving like me.
The Ruined King. Finally, I can play a game in League of Legends world without having to actually play League of Legends. In all seriousness though, The Ruined King was really what I wanted and more. It's a great story contained in the vast world of Runeterra with fantastic music and visuals. And several characters from League were able to be fleshed out much more and given compelling stories and personalities. As for the gameplay, normally I'm not a huge fan of turn-based combat, it's usually pretty repetitive or boring to me, but I felt like the Ruined King actually had a pretty interesting turn-based combat system that I thought was pretty fun to play. I definitely hope we can see more games like this in the future from Riot Forge, because the Ruined King was a really fun ride.
X gon' give it to ya. X gon' give it to ya. He gon' give it.
The Resident Evil 2 remake is easily the best horror game I've played. Jump scares in horror games always felt like a really cheap way to get a reaction out of the player. The mark of a good horror game to me is one that can build up that tension and make you dread what's around every corner. And Resident Evil 2 excels at that. I've never felt a stronger sense of unease and dread while playing a game. Right as you start to get comfortable, the game throws something new at you to deal with. The game is paced in a way that it gradually builds tension more and more, then some crazy shit happens, and then it just keeps on going from there. This is one of those games that you wish you could play again for the first time. I've played World of Warcraft for over 10 years, and no other MMO has really managed to hold my attention like WoW did. Until earlier this year when I tried out Final Fantasy XIV, and holy shit, it's got everything I wish WoW had and more. Player housing. One character can be every class. A cohesive and actually interesting storyline. Catgirls. And of course, a company that actually respects their developers and players. The community for this game is easily the best part about it. Every time you get into a dungeon, people are super nice and willing to help out if you're new. This one person saw that I was a new player and gave me a bunch of transmog items and shit. I was amazed at how nice people were in this game. I'm used to being yelled at by some middle-aged man in dungeons for not going fast enough as a tank in WoW. So having positive interactions with people for once was a really nice change of pace. I haven't gone super far into the story. I've only played through A Realm Reborn, which is the first expansion, and everyone says it's the weakest story in the game, but I still really enjoyed it. I thought it was a pretty simple story, but it was really effective at what it was trying to do. This game is free to play up to level 60, so I definitely recommend it if you're in the mood for an MMO. Better than that New World bullshit.
Hey everybody, it's Leif Erikson Day! Hinga-dinga-durgan!
It's hard for me to put into words just how good Valheim is. It is probably the coziest game I've played this year. The game has so many moments where you just feel completely immersed and like you're in a different place while playing it. Normally, I'm not a huge fan of survival games. The only one I've really been able to tolerate is Minecraft, and that's only because I played it with a ton of friends as a kid. They're usually really tedious and boring and just don't grab my attention. But then Valheim came out, and I was hooked right away. Something about it just resonated with me. There haven't been many games that have given me this real sense of adventure and like I'm going into this unknown world to explore it for myself and see what I can find. One moment you're aimlessly wandering through the meadows looking for berries and killing boars, and then the next minute you're on a boat and you're getting chased by a sea serpent as you're trying to get back to shore. And then the next minute you're climbing a mountain and you're fighting off wolves as they're at your heels. And just overall, this game just felt like a real authentic world to just be in. There's really no complaints I have about Valheim other than just I wish they had come out with updates faster, but you can't really blame them. It's only like 5 people working on this game. And honestly, the fact that they've managed to accomplish what they have with just 5 people is honestly amazing. And for that, it gets number 3 on my list. Similarly to how there's not really many survival games that have gotten me hooked, there also haven't really been many fighting games that have gotten me hooked. Fighting games have been a genre that I've always wanted to get into, but I usually lose interest after a few hours because they're usually just way too complicated, or you think you're doing good and then you get your ass kicked. Fighting games just have such a barrier to entry that it's hard to really get into the genre. But then, about a year ago, I heard this song on Spotify. I believe it was called Smell of the Gamer. And it was really fucking good. Like, holy shit, this song is so fucking good. It makes me feel like I could lift a building with my bare hands. So I look up the game that this song is from, Guilty Gear Strive, and it wasn't even out yet. What the fuck? Come on, how am I supposed? What am I supposed to do about this? Huh? And then fast forward to June this year, and this game Guilty Gear comes out, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try it just because of that song alone. And damn, this game's pretty fun. The gameplay, it feels great. Every hit you land feels impactful, like you really did just launch a dolphin at that guy. Combos are fairly easy to pull off, and with the Roman cancel system, you can get really creative and pull off longer combos. Doing simple 3-hit combos was easy as a newcomer to fighting games. There are also defensive options, so I'm not just getting hit for 10 minutes straight by my opponent. And then there's the best part about this game. The soundtrack. Oh my god, the soundtrack. Oh my god. This game has so many bangers, it's unbelievable. Each character has their own badass theme. I mean, just like listen to some of these. The rocking soundtrack paired with the intense and fun gameplay just makes this game like nothing else to play. It is so fucking fun and so satisfying. I cannot recommend it enough. I have put in over 100 hours in this game, and I bought a fight stick to just play this game. Like seriously, like I bought a whole ass controller just to play one game. And if it weren't for the fact that the soundtrack wasn't added to Spotify until a few months after the game had come out, it would have easily been my most listened to album of 2021.
Chris, get the banana! Get the banana, Chris! The banana! Chris, get it!
And my game of the year goes to Deltarune Chapter 2. Originally, when I was making this list, I put Deltarune at number 2 because my thought process was, well, it's technically just one chapter of a game, so it really shouldn't be the number 1 game, right? But then the more I thought about it, I realized that this was the best experience with a game I had all year. Even if the chapter is only like a few hours long, that goes to show just how good those few hours were. I've always really liked Toby Fox's writing and his sense of humor. It's what really made Undertale an enjoyable experience for me, and it's what also made the first chapter of Deltarune really good too. But in Chapter 2, I can really tell that Toby Fox has improved as a writer. I felt like so many jokes just landed for me. This was easily the funniest game I played all year, and one of the funniest just pieces of media that I saw this year. I was laughing constantly while playing it. A lot of the new characters that were introduced were fleshed out and really engaging to me. I really liked Queen, she was hilarious. And then you have Birdly, who at first I thought was super annoying and I didn't like him. And then throughout the game, he eventually just became my favorite character. He was really funny. I loved his character development throughout the chapter. It was great, honestly. And even the characters that were already introduced before in Chapter 1, like Susie, Ralsei, and even Chris to an extent, they were all developed more in meaningful ways, and it really just added to their characters. And just like any other project Toby Fox has ever worked on, of course the soundtrack is fucking amazing. Pretty much every track in this game is just an absolute banger and so catchy. I was just listening to the soundtrack for this game for like 2 months straight after the game came out, and I still occasionally will just put on one of the songs and listen to it. There's supposed to be like 7 chapters or something for Deltarune in total, so if the next 5 chapters that come out are even half as good as the first 2 chapters were, then honestly it's gonna go down as one of the best RPGs ever, and I mean that with 100% sincerity. Hey, thanks for watching to the end of the video. If you enjoyed watching it, consider giving it a like or subscribing. And share in the comments what were some of your favorite games of this year. Anyways, have a good new year, and I hope to see you soon.